Hello everyone and welcome back to another video tutorial of the Fenix A320. In this tutorial we are going to be doing how to fly an RNP or RNAV approach. This one is a hard one into Madeira. Thought I'd go hard to show you. So make sure that you've got your runway turn-off lights, your landing lights, your nose lights, all to the on position. 2 notches up on most of them, 1 notch for the runway turn-off, 2 notches for the rest, the landing lights and the nose lights. Make sure your seatbelt signs and your no smoke signs are also on as well. Give the cabin a little ding by clicking the little all button up there. And yeah. Next up is to just fly the altitudes needed. I'm going to manually control my speed at this point as well. I want to set flaps 1 to help in that regard. I've got my auto brake set as I've shown you in another tutorial. The airport is just there. Don't know if you can see, it's very hard to see in the distance there. God, wrong camera view. Very hard to see, but it is over there in the distance. And we're flying round into runway 05 on the RNP Zulu approach for Madeira. I'm going to get myself down to 190 knots, 195 knots now. See, the winds at Madeira, that is what you're going to see. Landing gear can come down as well because we're at 2,000 feet. 2,000 feet landing gear goes down. Signs are all meant to be on. Just make sure you put the no smoke so 2 notches up, not 1 right there. Arm your spoilers by putting them up 1 position just like the departure. And put your flaps to the positions needed. Of course full will be by the end what you want to have it. Or flaps 3 if you're doing a flaps 3 landing. I don't know what you're doing though, so you'll have to look at your own charts and work it out yourself. 160 knots now I'm going to set to. You've got to manually take control of speed at times, or you can let the plane control the speed, it's up to you. You've just got to make sure you can carry out the approach with the speeds you're at. So I'm going to arm the approach mode. Once you're nearing to the once you're on the approach chart, just click the approach button, which is just here on the Fenix A320. APP nav will approach nav will activate, and then final will be armed because it will be in blue. Anything armed will be in blue. Anything activated will be in green on the PFD screen here. And our approach mode is armed, so once the approach mode can be initiated, we can go down. See, 2,000 feet, 195 knots, we are well beyond those limits, so we don't need to worry. 2,000 feet at the next waypoint as well. Approach mode will arm eventually. I'm going to select my flaps to full now, because we are nearing in onto the approach. Just excuse me 1 minute whilst I set my flight recorder on. I want to record it. There we go. Thank you. Right. So approach mode will eventually activate. So I'm going to let plane control the speed now, so I'm going to click right on the mouse on the speed dial. Ensure landing system is not enabled at this point, or localizer, because you do not need them for an RNP or RNAV approach. As you can see that little blue arrow there, that's when approach mode is going to arm. It's going to activate, I mean. So we know it's going to activate at some point. If that arrow isn't there, then you may not activate the approach mode. It's worth knowing. And Madeira Airport is just there in the distance. The Fenix will automatically know what your final approach speed is, so I've set it at this point because we're nearing in. See, final approach is now as activated. Once it's activated, you'll see final APP come up in green, and that's when it's activated, and it will ignore your altitude
Terrain
there.
ahead. Pull up.
Now this will happen at Madeira, so if you want to turn that off, simply go to this button here and click it to off, and then you will not get any terrain warnings anymore. It's useful in Madeira because there's lots of terrain warnings, and we're not really going to hit any terrain anytime soon. And you'll see terrain off will come up in there, just there. It's useful to know. But you cannot do terrain on ND anymore. You cannot have terrain on the PFD screen as well. That's another thing to note. At this point we're flying in. With flaps full. We've got no errors on the landing checklist here. Everything's green here. You've done everything correctly. Go around altitude is 3000 feet, so we're going to get 3000 feet set. You must put your go around altitude in basically before or as soon as you've gone onto final approach mode. Because if you need to do a go around, that's how you'll react to it. Quite windy in Madeira. Making our turn in. I'm trying to keep the autopilot on for as long as possible. You cannot do an auto land on an RNP on RNAV approach, only on ILS approaches. See, there's no terrain warnings, but you would get them if it was on. Watch. It's not going to register in time, but yeah.
100 above.
Here we are. Just make sure you disengage the autopilot before you touch down and you'll be fine.
Minimum.
Autopilot off my plane. That versus once you hit 20 feet, set thrust to idle, and then once you've touched down, make sure you do your reverse thrust, and that will activate the auto brake. And once you've finished slowing down enough, click that auto brake button, and it'll disengage the auto brake so you don't start slowing down. If you don't disengage that, it will just keep the auto brake on. And by this point, welcome to your arrival airport. That was an RNP RNAV approach. This can work for any airport that has an RNAV approach or RNP approach. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video. I'm keeping it nice and simple, by the way, so quick finish. Thanks.